Right now, you are wearing money. Cotton on your skin, plastic thread, rubber under your feet. A label at your neck. Maybe you chose it in 3 seconds this morning. Maybe it was clean. Maybe it was black. Maybe it made you feel less exposed when you stepped into the world. That is the strange part. You think you bought clothes because you needed clothes. Warmth, work, weather, looking normal. Pockets maybe, a place for your phone, your keys, your small modern tools. But the store did not sell you fabric. It sold you a tiny decision machine. Every month, people say their paycheck disappears into rent, food, gas subscriptions, the big bones of the budget, the obvious beasts. But then come the soft little cuts. A shirt because it was on sale. Shoes because the old ones felt dead. One more jacket because the photo from last weekend made you look wrong. Small purchases, quiet purchases. Purchases you do not remember making, and then the bill arrives. Studies on consumer spending keep showing the same old wound. People underestimate the money they bleed through small discretionary buys. Not because they are stupid, because the mechanism is built to hide the blood. A $20 item does not feel like a financial decision. It feels like relief, like armor, like a quick escape from the mirror. So here's the question. If ancient humans covered their bodies to survive the cold, the thorn, the bite, the gaze of the tribe, why are modern humans still covering themselves with debt? One harmless little purchase at a time. You open the closet, cotton, denim, a black shirt, shoes by the door, a receipt folded in a pocket like a small fossil. You tell yourself, this is practical, you needed it. Work clothes, winter clothes, something decent for dinner, something that does not make you look careless, on camera, in the office, in front of people who measure you before they speak. But that is the strange part. Textile historians place the wide use of clothing around 75,000 years ago. For a huge stretch of human existence, we were bare under the African sun, skin against thorn, skin against insects, skin against cold night air. No closet, no brand, no sale rack, no monthly payment for looking acceptable. So the simple story breaks. Warmth was not the first engine. Warmth mattered later, when humans moved into colder lands and cloth became survival. But clothing appears before that, in warm places, while the body could still live without it. Protection matters too. Rocks cut, thorns bite, insects feed. Anyone who has imagined running from danger with everything exposed understands the problem fast. But if protection were the whole reason, the first fashion budget of the species would have gone to hands and feet. The parts that hit stone, the parts that bleed. Instead, early clothing across many cultures covered the torso and the groin. First, the hidden places, the symbolic places, the places other eyes judge. That is not just utility. That is social pressure becoming fabric. And then look at your spending today. The mechanism is ancient, but the register is modern. You do not only buy warmth, you buy permission to enter rooms. You buy the feeling that your body will not be discussed. You buy a version of yourself that can stand under fluorescent lights and not feel poor, tired, or out of place. There is research behind the timeline, too. In 2003, geneticists studied lice, of all things. Head lice live in hair. Body lice need clothing. By tracing when those lice split apart, researchers found a biological clue. Clothing had become common enough to create a new habitat on the human body. A new habitat, not just on skin, in money. Because once cloth stopped being only survival, it became signal. And signal is expensive, it renews itself, it expires. It whispers that last year's body is not enough. Last season's shoes are not enough. Yesterday's image is not enough. So here is the question. When you say you need new clothes, are you covering your body? Or are you paying tribute to the tribe? You live inside payments. Now, the rent leaves before breakfast. The phone bill walks out at midnight. The streaming app takes its little cut while you sleep. The gym you stopped visiting still knows the shape of your bank account. You tap, you swipe, you nod at a screen, and then the money is gone. That is the strange part. The modern trap is not always the giant purchase. It is the small thing that learned how to survive in your routine. A fee, a subscription, a minimum payment, a delivery charge, a convenience cost. Tiny creatures, quiet mouths, built to live in the fabric of your paycheck. You think you are choosing, but many companies are not built around your one-time decision. They are built around your forgetting. The data gives the footprint. Zora's Subscription Economy Index reported that subscription businesses grew more than 400% between 2012 and 2020, far faster than many traditional retail models. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau estimated that banks collected around $12 billion in overdraft and non-sufficient funds fees in 2019, not from rich people making bold moves, from ordinary accounts, thin accounts, accounts waiting for Friday. So the evidence is not buried in a cave. It is not carved into bone. It is in your bank statement. $3 here, $11 there. A late fee, a renewal, a balance carried one more month. Proof that a whole financial ecosystem evolved. Around money, you do not actively guard. But that date, that number, that report still does not tell you the deeper reason. It only tells you the behavior is already established. You are already trained to accept money, leaving in fragments. The origin goes deeper than apps and plastic cards and online checkout. It sits somewhere under comfort, under status, under the soft fear of being left out. Researchers in behavioral finance have argued for years. That payment design changes how pain feels. When cash leaves your hand, the body notices. Fingers open, paper disappears, the loss has weight. But when a card taps glass, when a bill renews in silence, the pain is delayed, blurred, almost ceremonial. And then, the market learned the ritual. Make the payment invisible. Make the monthly number look small. Make ownership feel old and access feel modern. Make the customer say yes once, then keep charging until they wake up. So, here is the question. How much of your life is being spent by you? And how much is being harvested by systems that depend on you not looking? Look at your pay stub. The hours, the tax, the little line that says what is left after the world has taken its cut. Then, look at the grocery receipt, the rent notice, the phone bill, the coffee you barely remember buying. That is the strange part. Money does not only measure what you can afford today. It measures whether you can picture a version of yourself who has not arrived yet. You take a number on a screen, and you imagine rent due in 2 weeks. You imagine a car repair, a sick day, a child asking for something. An older you, slower, more tired, still needing food and heat and medicine. That sounds simple. It is not. It takes memory. It takes restraint. It takes the ability to feel pressure from a future that has no face yet. The same machinery you use when you keep a promise, mark a calendar, set aside money, or feel dread over a bill that has not even landed in your inbox. Most people think budgeting is about math, but the math is the easy part. The hard part is believing that your future self is real enough to protect. A paycheck disappears fast because the present has teeth. It smells like dinner. It glows from a shopping cart. It buzzes in your hand at midnight. Buy now, upgrade now, prove you are not falling behind. And then the future arrives, not as an idea, as a due date, as an overdraft fee, as a minimum payment that eats part of next month, before next month has even begun. Researchers in behavioral economics have shown this again and again. We discount the future. We treat tomorrow's pain as smaller than today's pleasure. A dollar spent now feels alive. A dollar saved feels buried. But it is not buried. It is stored breath. It is distance from panic. It is one small wall between your body and the weather. And then there is something deeper under all of it. Something people do not like to name when they talk about money. Shame, not moral shame, not some ancient curse. Social shame. The awareness of being seen. The feeling that your shoes, your car, your apartment, your dinner, your gifts, your vacations, your children's clothes, your phone, your whole visible life is being read by other people like a public ledger. So you spend to look safe, you spend to look loved, you spend to look like you are not losing. But a strange reversal happens. The money meant to hide the fear becomes the thing that feeds it. So here is the question. When you open your banking app, are you looking at numbers? Or are you looking at the oldest human skill there is? The ability to see tomorrow coming and decide whether today is allowed to eat it. You stand in front of a mirror, a shirt on the chair, shoes by the door, a watch on your wrist, a tiny logo stitched over your heart. And before you leave the house, you do something very old. You spend money on the version of yourself other people are about to meet. That is the strange part. The purchase is not only about cotton, leather, warmth, or covering skin. It is about being seen. It is about stepping outside your own skull and asking, without saying it out loud, what will they think I am worth? Psychologists call this theory of mind, the ability to imagine yourself through another person's eyes. A dog does not stand by the closet and worry if the collar makes it look broke. A crow does not choose a shinier feather because the other crows might respect it more. Even chimpanzees only show faint traces of this mirror inside the mind. But you do, and brands know you do. So a normal bill becomes something heavier. The jacket is not just a jacket. The phone is not just a phone. The car payment is not just transport. These are small public signals you drag through the street like ancient skins. Proof of tribe, proof of taste, proof that you are surviving better than you may actually be. And then the money mechanism appears. Once humans learned to see themselves being seen, spending stopped being private. It became social armor. You are not only buying utility, you are buying the right to enter a room without flinching. You are buying a story other people can read quickly. Rich, careful, successful, desirable, not falling behind. This is why people will cut food costs, delay savings, carry credit card debt, and still protect the outfit, the phone, the dinner, the holiday photo. Not because they are stupid, because status pressure is older than spreadsheets, older than budgeting apps, older than your paycheck. Studies on conspicuous consumption show this clearly. When people feel judged, excluded, or lower in status, they often spend more on visible goods. Not hidden goods, visible ones. The things other people can see. The signal has to leave the cave with you. So here is the question. When your paycheck arrives, how much of it feeds your body, your future, your actual freedom, and how much of it feeds the invisible crowd watching from inside your head? And you see it in the smallest places. The coffee cup in your hand, the phone on the table, the shoes by the door, the subscription you forgot you were paying for, the rent leaving your account before your day has even begun. You think these are just purchases, just bills, just the normal weight of modern life. That is the strange part. Money stopped being only survival long ago. It became a signal, a little flag you carry through the tribe. Researchers who study consumer behavior keep finding the same pattern. When people feel watched, compared, or ranked, they spend differently. They choose the visible thing, the branded thing, the thing that speaks before they do. Before you say a word, your spending has already entered the room. It says where you think you belong. It says who you are, trying not to fall behind. It says whether you are safe, successful, desirable, serious, or at least whether you can afford to look that way for one more month. And then the trap closes quietly. Because the modern tribe is no longer 20 people around a fire. It is thousands of faces in your pocket. Coworkers, friends, strangers, influencers. People you will never meet, all standing in a glowing circle, showing you what a normal life is supposed to cost. So your paycheck arrives, warm, brief, alive. And before you can use it to build anything, the old social machinery begins to eat. A nicer apartment because your peers moved up. A car payment because arriving matters, clothes for the office. Dinner you did not want to split. A vacation you could not really afford, but could not bear to be the only one without a story. This is not weakness. It is older than budgeting apps. Human beings have always read the surface. Beads, paint, feathers, fibers, tattoos. Now it is credit limits, sneakers, watches, neighborhoods, airport photos, wedding costs, private schools, and the quiet shame of saying, I can't. The mechanism is brutal because it feels like identity. A bill is not just a bill when it protects your place in the group. A purchase is not just a purchase when it keeps you from feeling small. Debt is not just debt when it buys you a mask that other people reward. But the bank does not care what the mask means. Interest does not care that you wanted respect. Late fees do not care that you were tired. Lifestyle creep does not care that everyone around you is doing it too. So, here is the question. When you get paid, are you feeding your future first, or are you dressing your fear? Because every month, before you invest, before you save, before you escape, your money is already speaking for you. The only danger is letting it speak in the language of people who will not pay your bills. Tomorrow, you will get paid, or you will open the banking app, or the bill will arrive again. Rent, groceries, gas, coffee, delivery fees, a subscription you forgot. A small charge at midnight, another one at dawn. It feels modern. Plastic card, glass screen, Face ID, one tap. But the old animal is still there. That is the strange part. Most people think money problems begin with math. Income minus expenses. Budget minus temptation. But a lot of spending is not about the object. It is about the version of you that object lets you perform. You are not just buying dinner. You are buying relief. You are not just buying the phone. You are buying belonging. You are not just saying yes to the trip. You are trying not to be left outside the fire. That pressure is ancient. The setting changed. The cave became a group chat. The tribe became coworkers. The carved bone became a credit card. But the calculation is the same. Will they see me as successful? Will I look behind? Will I feel safe? Will I be accepted? And then the bill comes. The Federal Reserve has reported that many adults would struggle to cover a sudden $400 emergency without borrowing or selling something. Not because every one of them is reckless, because the modern world learned how to sell identity in small payments. $10 here, $29 there. A payment plan split into 4 clean pieces. No blood, no pain, just a soft little click. But debt is delayed gravity. So here's the question. When you look at your spending, are you looking at numbers, or are you looking at fear wearing a price tag? Tonight, open the statement, not as punishment, as archaeology. Circle what kept you alive. Circle what bought time. Circle what bought status. Circle what bought comfort because you were tired. Then decide what still deserves to follow you into next month. Cancel one thing. Delay one purchase, move money first before the world can name it for you. Even a small amount, especially a small amount, that is how you teach the old brain a new law. Your paycheck is not just income. It is your hours, your back, your eyes, your days on earth. Do not let it disappear as a ritual to impress people who are not paying your bills. You are not only choosing what to buy, you are choosing what kind of future gets to survive.